here. So let's get to this Florida-Georgia thing. And let's set this up. The way we did it, that just happened yesterday with Matt's tweet that went out was that Scott Strickland, the athletics director of the University of Florida, basically said, look, once this decision is made by the city of Jacksonville and the stadium renovation plan has been approved and the NFL says go for it and we get on the calendar and see exactly what's going to happen, there's going to be some decisions made about where the game is going to be played while the renovations are taking place, and then what happens going forward. Is that the easiest way to set this conversation up?
You kind of encapsulated it. Yeah. I mean, look, they have to wait and see if the city passes it. Okay, that's number one. Mm-hmm. I think everybody's waiting for that.
Right, and we expect that
and
to happen.
And if the NFL approves it, right, and you kind of expect that to happen. And then it's, all right, let's look at how we're going to have to generate revenue. Now, remember, Florida's renovating its stadium, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
they've got a major project.
They have the ability now to generate more revenue with home games.
Yeah.
So you got to remember that as well. Georgia's wanted that thing. There's been talk that not only Georgia wants the game in Athens, but also maybe a game in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So now the idea is floated around a 4-year rotation where it's 1 year in Georgia, 1 year in Athens, 1 year in Gainesville, 1 year in Jacksonville, 1 year in Atlanta. Yeah. And I asked Scott on that. He said, look, once Jacksonville gets it approved, once the NFL signs off on it, then we'll start talking. But he did say, look, all options are on the table, including returning to Jacksonville every year and neutral site games. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't – and home homes, I should say. So I wouldn't put anything past anyone right now because right now it's a very tenuous spot right now in college sports where they're looking for more revenue. One of the ways to get more revenue is to have that game on campus. Now, I will say this. The city of Jacksonville can make it very easy for them by just throwing a ton of money at them and make it force them in a situation where you can't move that game.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you. What is it going to take to get all these plates off the table? All right, because
they make it's about $5 million. Each team makes about $5 million now. So, I mean, that's so. Let's talk about so you're talking about. Let's say it goes to home and home. So you go from let's say you make $4 to $5 or even $6 million with the new renovations in Gainesville. $6 million a year at $6 million a game, I should say.
At home.
That's still at home. Yeah. That's still $6 million over 2 years because the next year it's going to be back in Athens. You're not making anything off that. So if it's still 5 each team, and it's $10 million. That's $4 million is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you could somehow figure out, all right, it's better off for us to stay in Gainesville. Now, if it's $7 million each, and that number goes to $14 million, and you can make $6 million or $14 million, it's not even a question. You have to take it.
And that's an $8 million L over 2 years' time, and you need that money on an annual basis. And both sides would really be at risk here. Financially, the Gators and the Dogs would lose dinero every other year. And then the other part of it is the city of Jacksonville does not want to lose this game.
No. See, I'm going to tell you the stadium that scares me is the Mercedes-Benz Stadium because, we've got to get approved, get renovated, and all that kind of stuff. They're already established. They already got a footprint right there. I'm hoping that this thing doesn't, while we're going through renovations and all this kind of stuff.
No, that won't happen.
It won't happen,
I think once it's approved and once the NFL signs off on it, then they start negotiating.
Okay.
Because then they both understand this is what it's going to look like. Here are the plans. This is when it's going to be finished.
Okay.
So then you can say, okay, well, beginning in 28, we're going to sign a 10-year deal with the city, and it's for $8 million per team, and it escalates to $10 million in 2032, whatever. I'm just throwing out numbers. I'm just throwing out numbers. It may not be that. I'm just saying, then you start that type of deal.
Okay, so you're saying that Jacksonville's still in play based on money or traditions? Because I think both. Okay, all right. Because you've already told me that times do change and
there's a lot,
things do evolve.
There's a
so
lot
I'm just saying that. I wanted to stay in Jacksonville. I absolutely love going down there. I'm just saying that Atlanta's stadium is already established. It's right there in between the two.
That's not going to be an issue as long as it's been approved.
I just want to make sure, bro.
Yeah. Once it gets approved, that's not. Then
it's not even an issue.
No, because listen, there's a lot of big money South Georgia guys that want that game in Jacksonville.
Good.
A lot.
Good.
A lot. And
so
that's going to be helpful to the city. And there's a lot of Gator boosters that want that game in Jacksonville.
Okay.
So that's going to be the draw. But at the end of the day, it'll be very easy for the ADs of Florida and Georgia and the presidents of Florida and Georgia to say, look, it's negligible what they're paying us instead of us going home and home, unless the city says we're going to pay you this X amount where you can't say no.
It's going to be and by the way, the ticket number will come down just a little bit based on the way things were talking stadium capacity-wise. Yep, easy, and give us a percentage. And you could phrase it any way you want. Nervous as hell, no chance it's leaving. However you want to do it, but you can also put it at 50.
I can give you mine.
Yeah,
I think there's no chance it's leaving. I think the city's going to just pay them an ungodly amount of money to stay.
I think basically you'd be marching to the same beat of the drum that you can't lose. The Jacksonville Jaguars cannot be left behind by the city where they move on somewhere else. And they are not going to leave behind the Florida-Georgia game.
It's literally the same thing. If you're going to pay $1 billion to get that stadium
Better
renovated, there's no way you're going to let that Florida-Georgia game go. No way.
Yeah. So let us know what you're thinking.